Parliament for Brim and a member of the Communications and Information Committee of Parliament. Charles, good evening. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, good evening, Shami.
I'm sure you've seen and heard this directive from the Communications Minister to DStv Ghana. Many people will say that it's good news for subscribers here in Ghana. From your side, what's your reaction to this directive?
I'm grateful for the opportunity, Shami. Yes, I've watched the video of the minister. And then let me say right from the outset that I support the call of the minister for DStv to reduce the cost of their packages. Yeah, because when you do the analysis, like the minister rightly said, we seem to be paying more as compared to the other countries that enjoy almost the same services. You know, because if Nigeria is paying about $29 for the premium service, and then Ghana is paying over $83 for the same premium service, and then I think that it is too much. I have lived in South Africa. I used to be the High Commissioner there. And then I can tell you that in South Africa, we used to pay less, far less than what we are paying in Ghana. So I support the call. However, I think that the approach shouldn't be a threat to cancel or to suspend their license. I think that shouldn't be the way to go. My view is that when these issues happen, there ought to be some discussions. I agree that the minister did meet them earlier. Subsequently, MultiChoice told the minister that they will go back and then review whatever discussions they've had and then get back to the minister. When they got back in the form of a written response to the minister, indicating that because of the cost of doing business, the cost of running the operations, the depreciation of the CD.
Hello, Charles. I'm afraid Charles Radio's phone lines not the best of friends at the moment. We'll try and raise him again on the telephone line and speak to him on the DStv issue, because the Minister of Communications at a news conference today says that government may be forced to revoke the broadcasting license of MultiChoice Ghana, owners of DStv, if it fails to reduce the prices for their packages by the 7th of August 2025, because he says that he has had engagement with the managers or the operators of DStv here in Ghana, and the agreement was them to reduce their prices, but unfortunately the managers say they are unable to do so. And so he says that by the 7th of August, if that is not done, he will ask the National Communications Authority to revoke the license of DStv Ghana or MultiChoice Ghana, who operate DStv here in Ghana. Charles is back on the phone. Let's speak to him. Charles, you were making a point before the line dropped.
Yes, I was saying that I support the call for the reduction, but I disagree with the minister on the approach. You know, because if you say that you're going to suspend the license of DStv, at the end of the day, you know, both of us are going to suffer. If I say both of us, we the subscribers, and then that of the DStv, the company. This shouldn't be the way I would have approached this. In my humble view, the minister should still engage. I know that based on the response of the minister, he did engage earlier, and then the people that DStv promised, or MultiChoice promised, to get back to him to review the cost, and then subsequently they wrote a letter to him indicating that because of the depreciation of the CD, and then the fact that other logistics that they use in producing the channel has gone up, because of that they are unable to reduce the cost. I think that there ought to be a further room for negotiation. Let me, you remember when Ghana, when MTN had an issue, I think the GRA had an issue with MTN, that they were underpaying their taxes. It was a big issue in South Africa. I was the High Commissioner then. It was a big issue. I remember being summoned by the South African Foreign Minister on this matter. But at the end of the day, we use diplomatic channels to resolve the issue because our two countries do enjoy a very strong tie, strong bond, of friendship. Ghana is South Africa's largest trading partner. We do business with South Africa. There's a lot of Ghanaians who visit South Africa. Likewise, South Africans visiting Ghana. This company, MultiChoice, has employed a lot of Ghanaians, that are working for MultiChoice. So the approach shouldn't be a threat. The approach should still be, a room, for further negotiation. Make a very strong argument, make a solid point to them, and then having put across, all the other markets that DStv operates in, making that, forceful argument. I'm sure, because they're business concern, they want to make profit. Whilst making profit, they also want to have a harmonious relationship with the policy maker, being the government of Ghana, in this case, the minister or the ministry. They would abide by. So if the issue, the minister's press conference, he said that he asked them to reduce it by 30%. So if they do have the genuine case, saying that, okay, probably 30% is too much for us, but we can do this figure, and it has to be a negotiation. I don't want this issue of, threats and then banning. It doesn't augur well for that relationship that we seek to have with them.
Agreed. But then the question is, the minister has had series of negotiations or engagement with them. To the extent that they asked them to reduce by 30, they wrote a letter back to the minister, making arguments about the cedi depreciation and the rest. So a lot of people believe that a threat like this may compel DStv to do what government or the minister is asking that they do.
I cited the example of MTN. I told you earlier that when GRA, had this issue, do you remember GRA had, and then the Ministry of Finance had this issue with MTN. The matter was escalated to another level, so it was handled behind, closed doors. So this matter can also be handled in the same way. The ministers at the level of the minister can speak to his colleague minister in South Africa, together, because this is a South African company. I know that now Canal of France is making some plans, to buy this company. But as we speak today, it's still a South African company.
They bought the information we have is that they bought it about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, but then the South African government is yet to sort of give them the go ahead, for them to take over. It has to go through some, I think, some bureaucratic system in South Africa, before finally they take over. That's what I've heard. So as we speak now today, it's still a South African company. So that matter, I'm saying that it has to be escalated. If he's having issues with these people, I'm sure that by picking the phone, speaking to his colleague, even if the French company has taken over, we have the French government being represented here by their embassy. The South Africans, if they're still in the domain of the South African government, the South Africans are being represented by their High Commission. Raise the matter. Like I told you, MTN raised the matter they told their parents in South Africa. And I was summoned as the ambassador to go and meet the foreign minister. When we met, we had some discussions. Later, I reported back to the foreign minister. And at the end of the day, now we've had a very harmonious relationship. But MTN is doing business in Ghana. So we don't want to see businesses go.
Okay.
We want to encourage more businesses to come. But that does also mean that businesses should take us for a ride. That's why I'm saying that I support the call for a reduction. That's why I support, because the minister should also act like he's saying, he's acting in the interest of Ghana. I support that call totally. But then I think that there ought to be a different approach in getting this thing done.
Okay.
It shouldn't be that, okay, they've written a letter to me, and that because of that, you're giving them up to the 7th of this month. If not, then I'm canceling. No. And then they will suffer. You're not going to suffer. The subscribers are going to suffer. I will not get the opportunity to watch my Liverpool play and then other, entertainment, and then sports channels on TV. And then the company is also going to suffer. And that's not what we wish to do as a government. I don't think that that's the interest of government, to see companies fold up because there's this misunderstanding between the companies and government. We need to sit down. There's always a room for negotiation.
Okay.
If the minister has said 30% and then they are saying 30% is too much, how much are they prepared to offer?
Okay, Charles.
That's what I think ought to be done.
All right, Charles, thank you. Thank you very much for your time. Charles Reid is Member of Parliament for Ibrahim and a member of the Communications and Information Committee of Parliament. Let's